The Game of the Week. The Game of the Week is an in-depth look at a family-friendly game we think you should try if you get the chance. This week's game is Rebirth, designed by Reiner Knizia and published by Mighty Boards. Released in 2024, playtime of an hour or less, 2 to 4 players, ages 10 plus. This family game is Dr. Knizia's 5th Game of the Week on the show. Doug, give us the stats.
I'll give you the overview.
I give you the stats. How about you give us the overview?
There you go. In Rebirth, players are leaders of ancient clans hoping to rebuild Scotland in harmony with nature after a series of calamities left civilizations in shambles. Throughout the game, players place tiles to build energy farms, grow food farms, and establish settlements. On your turn, you put the tile from your hand onto an open space on the board. After placing a tile on the board, you score that tile. You can only place food farm tiles on blank spaces or spaces with food farm tile icons. Food farm tiles score 1 point for each of your tiles in the food farm cluster you created or add to. Energy farm tiles work just like food farm tiles. You can only place them in blank spaces or spaces with energy farm icons, and the energy farm tiles score 1 point for each of your tiles in the energy farm cluster you create or add to. Settlement tiles score when all of the spaces making up a settlement become occupied. Points are awarded based on the size of the settlement and each player's level of influence, with larger settlements scoring more points. The number of house icons on each settlement tile contributes to each player's influence. In addition, settlement tiles placed on ports immediately score a 1 point bonus. Players gain control of castles by occupying the most spaces adjacent to the castle. When taking control of a castle, players place one of their castle tokens on the castle space to show they control it. At the end of the game, players will earn 5 points for every castle they control. Lastly, if a player places a tile next to a cathedral space, they put one of their cathedral markers in the space and draw a mission card. A player can have a maximum of 8 mission cards throughout the game. Mission cards provide end-of-game bonuses when their objectives are satisfied. Your turn ends by drawing a new tile from your supply, which you'll place on your next turn. And the game ends when players put all of the tiles from their supply onto the board. Once all tiles have been placed, the player with the most points wins. In addition to Scotland, the game also features a map of Ireland on the opposite side of the board. The Ireland variant introduces larger settlements, public mission cards, and round tower bonuses. So, do you have what it takes to help Scotland rebuild, or will you toil away on your energy farm and hope that somebody else takes care of it? Michael, what do you like about the gameplay in Rebirth?
I love the decision of having one tile in that placement opportunity. Every single turn is an opportunity. And I think you can look at that in 2 different ways. It's like, oh, what's the cost of not doing this? Or it's an opportunity to make a decision. And so there's all these little points that are adding up. You know, I didn't mean to jump in on your overview there. I know you can edit that out if you choose to, but I also, remind me to come back to the game schooling implication. I'll do that at the end of this segment. We're talking about gameplay. Game to game is very different. Player count is very different. Game is very interactive, like a lot of Dr. Knizia's tile placement games. This does not have a solo variant. You are playing against other humans, and playing it at 2 versus playing it with a third player provides a whole different game because of where you're placing on the board. So just a great little tile placement game from Dr. Knizia, but what really sets this one apart is just having the one tile. I don't have 3 tiles in my hand and I'm choosing one. I love that decision, and it really forces a level of focus, and it also limits the options that I have, so I don't get lost in my head. How about you, Doug?
Well, that's what I love the most about it, is the simple choices and the quick turns, because even in a 2-player game, the second that you draw your tile, it's going to be one of 3 tile types, right? It's either going to be an energy farm, a food farm, or a settlement tile. So you're already limited where you can place it. And even in a 2-player game, it's enough time to have a general idea of where you're going to place it by the time the turn gets back around to you. and even faster when you're playing with more players, because those decisions are made by the time your turn comes around. So it just is fast. It reminds me of a game like Kingdom Builder that had the one card that you have, and that's the card that you're going to play. Some people don't like that because they feel like, oh, I don't have a choice. And it's like, no, your choice is where you're putting it, not, what you do with what you have. And I really like that as a gamer that likes tactical games. It's right up my alley because I can't plan too far ahead because I have no idea what I'm drawing out. And I love that.
And I think in a game like this too, there's something, and I'm coming to this right now as we're talking about it. This isn't in my notes, so feel free to just trash me if this is an absolutely foolish thing to say. But I have my own bag that I'm drawing my tiles from. I'm not sharing a bag with somebody else, and I really have I have a sense of ownership over my decisions and what I'm doing. I pulled this tile from the bag. This is what I'm doing. I also have a little bit of hidden information. There's just 2 tiles that go face down. And I don't, so I know that those are not going to get pulled out of the bag. So as that bag is starting to dwindle, even though I've looked 3 times, it's like, okay, which 2 tiles are face down in? Oh yeah, it's that one. So that one's not coming out. And I just love that sense of, like I said, that decision-making space where I might just have the one tile, but I'm in charge of it here. I don't have to share this bag with you. This is my bag with my tiles. So...
yeah,
little selfishness there, but it's fun in the competitive game.
Yeah, it's certainly a point fest. You will be scoring a ton of points in this game and going and lapping the board several times, possibly. But
Speak for yourself.
The other thing I really like is that this is what I would call subtle area control, in that in a lot of area control games, it's like, all right, I've got the most people here, and I'm just going to hammer it away, and you can't even get in here. This one has that with the settlements and surrounding castles and things like that. But some of it is just dictated by what you can draw and when. And there are times where I want to get in on that settlement, but I'm not drawing settlement tiles. Or I happen to draw settlement tiles, which means I can get in there and compete on that one. So it kind of takes the pressure off of me as a gamer to always be making the best choices or be planning ahead of that comes in a lot of area control games. That this one, it is area control, but it's not in your face.
That's a really good point. And you can have small payoffs each turn that add up to a big payoff.
Yeah.
Right? It's not we've played an area control game before that was very much had a duel in the area when you're competing over it, and that can come back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I win that space, you get nothing. Yeah. And that's not how Rebirth is. It's you're oftentimes rewarded for that second place. You're rewarded for having a presence in that area, right?
Yeah, sometimes I'll just throw one into that area, even though I'm not going to win it, just to get a couple extra bonus points. And there's a tiebreaker on surrounding a castle. So if it's based on the number of tiles, but if there's a tie on the number of tiles, then it goes to food and energy tiles. And then if there's a tie there, whoever had a presence there first, essentially, is going to win. So I think that resolves itself very well.
Yeah. And go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and then with the 2 sides of the board and the mission cards, there's a lot of variety in this box.
That's right where I was going next, Doug. That's awesome. What I love about the Ireland side of the map is that it introduces just one mechanic in one slight new area, and that the added mechanic, there's new tiles that come in and they trigger some bonuses, but then you can have these sprawling cities that give the game a whole different feel and something added to work for. So I feel like they really got it right. I'm guessing at some point a decision was made, and I don't know this. The folks at Mighty Boards are awesome. And we do know that Dr. Knizia is awesome. We've interviewed him, episode 191, if you want to go back and listen. But at some point, somebody probably said, hey, we could do a second version. And we got Scotland here. Let's come out with Ireland 2 years later. It's like, nope, just flip the board, put them both in one box. And it really does feel like a different game in many ways, just with adding one little mechanic with the tiles that do some cool things, and with adding that sprawling city. And they call them something different than sprawling cities. They are called
Settlements.
Settlements. Thank you, Doug.
Sprawling settlements.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the production. I mean, the artwork is so bright and vibrant.
It's awesome.
And the player pieces are awesome as far as the castles. The cathedral pieces stack right on top of each other because they all go in the same space, work really well as well. Anything else from you on production?
No, I mean, I only have my hands on, I backed this. So I only have my hands on the deluxe edition. So I know that some backers had some issues with how the tiles were printed and things like that. My copy's great. It's nice cardboard pieces, everything put together. No, the production to me has been very good. I know there are some issues out in Board Game Geek land with that, but I don't have that experience. My copy's been good, and I've had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, and the rules are very clear. Moving on to the things to be aware of, Michael briefly mentioned that there is a Kickstarter version. However, it's not what you would kind of think. So the only difference is that there are draw bags instead of, kind of flipping your tokens upside down and drawing one. The cardboard is a little thicker in the Kickstarter version. It has 2 tuck boxes and 3D player markers, and that's it. So the castle buildings and the cathedral markers are the same in the retail version. So really great quality there for the 2 differences between the games. Normally when you say there's a Kickstarter version, it's like, well, it comes with this fancy insert and it's got metal coins and all this. This is pretty comparable.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out and doing that research, Doug.
Anything else from you to be aware of?
Not to be aware of, no.
All right, moving on to the skills.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump in and take the skills a slightly different place. In my house, this game is set up on our game table right now. The map of Ireland has some potential for game schooling, especially and Scotland too. Not to draw any offense to our Scottish listeners. The 4 of you that are out there, I'm going someplace, so just bear with me on this. But initially, from my understanding of following the campaign, I didn't reach out to Mighty Boards or anything like that. This is just me being a fan. All right, being a fan of this game from the early days and watching the updates. This game featured the actual names of the tribes in Scotland and on Ireland. And at some point, the decision was made, we're not going to use people's names. We are instead going to use the cities. And what I love about the map, it has the cities, but then it doesn't have any of the other lines. So right there, that map of Ireland, there's so much to get into with, Northern Ireland and just talking about the country in general. Maybe it's just me and, the home I was raised in, there was Ireland was on every wall where you in some way, shape or form, there was a color, a map or something letting you know that, hey, this is where your people are from. And so for me and my house, just getting that on the table in such a vibrant way and getting to just, look at it similarly to what we've done with Ticket to Ride in the past in our family, just talking about the United States. It might have just been the right game at the right time, but a little bit of a geography lesson, especially for my 9 and 12-year-old. 9-year-old was more willing. 12-year-old was like, yeah, right, Dad. So a little bit of a tangent there, but skills, getting back to the episode proper, this is a tactical decision masterpiece and resource management. My resource is 1 tile. How about you, Doug? What do you have?
Tactical thinking is a big one. A game that challenges players to make decisions based on currently available and frequently changing information. Everything depends on what tile you pick out and what spaces are available at the time that you're playing them. So you have to be able to, as much as you want to grow that farm as big as you can, you may not be drawing farm tiles. So you need to pivot and do something else. This is a good game also for observation, a game that rewards careful watching of details and behaviors in order to understand and arrive at a judgment. You need to look around and see where your other players are, your opponents are putting their tiles? Are they getting close to filling up that settlement? Can you steal that castle away from them? Can you block them off on a big farm that they're trying to build? All of those things require you to pay attention to what other players are doing. And I think the fact that you're only placing one tile is what allows you to watch them a little bit closer while you're playing.
And I had a lot of those indicators plugged into the skill of comprehension. I'm glad that you put it under observation. We define comprehension as a game that requires players to perceive and understand concepts, ideas, and functions, how the game works, rules, and mechanisms. What you said about scoring, especially in repeated plays, and this is where I think some of the young gamers will even pick up on it, similar to the route building in Ticket to Ride, and who's got the longest route going. Well, if I just put this one little train down, it's going to disrupt that, right? Who's scoring that cathedral over there? Well, if I just put this one little tile down there, I'm going to win the tiebreaker. So comprehending how the scoring pays off, and I love that in-game scoring with just moving the pieces around too. I think that helps. But yeah, I can absolutely see observation, and I think that's why I threw comprehension in there.
Yeah, the last one I've got is decision making, a game that allows players to make decisions based on currently or previously available information. One decision a turn, it's a big decision. And, where you talked about, I have my own tiles, those are my tiles, those are your decisions, you get to make them. And I think that's extremely rewarding and valuable as the game unfolds. Anything else from you?
The only thing that I'll say, very easy to get back to the table. We play a lot of games. And Doug and I, and in the house where I'm at right now with my family, we play a lot of different games. And there was a couple month gap from first game to most recent game for Rebirth. And boy, it came back very quickly. And then also getting into the Ireland version of the game too was just, adding one tile, adding one rule. It's like, okay, I can get this up and running. So that to me is also a very good sign of a game that's likely going to stick around in my house, but also likely going to get to the table a lot more often at conventions and board game libraries and things like that.
All right, Michael, what are your final thoughts? What are you going to put on the back of the box?
I just gave, but this is a Reiner Knizia Classic.
Yeah, I put that Rebirth feels like a classic Knizia game from another time, but with modern sensibilities and lightning quick turns.
All right, let me try again.
Okay, go ahead.
It feels like a Knizia Classic with lightning. No, you said it better. Go ahead. Let's hear your final thoughts again, Doug.
Rebirth feels like a classic Knizia game from another time, but with modern sensibilities and lightning quick turns. All right, that's our game of the week, Rebirth from Dr. Reiner Knizia and Mighty Boards.